Welcome to today's special episode of the Parenting for Prevention podcast. I'm Corey Alloway with Defiant SCV, and I'm here today with two very special guests, and we're going to be sharing some tips and tools about peer pressure and how to address that challenging topic at home. So here I have Dr. Ashley Swanson, who is joining us. She is an elementary social worker with the schools here in the Santa Clarita Valley. And then Ramses Mayorga, who has an incredible, inspiring story. He'll be sharing how he succumbed and surpassed peer pressure. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
So Ashley, I'm going to get started with you. How would you define peer pressure, and what common forms do kids and teens face today?
I would say that it's any influence your peers or just people your age have on your behaviors, your thoughts, and your choices. Peer pressure can be positive, such as, I want to join this social club because my friends are doing it. I want to play sport because my friends are doing it. But it can also be negative, and that could be defined as, drugs, sexual experimentation, gangs, things like suicide, things like that.
Yeah, important topics nowadays. Mm-hmm. So Ramses, can you share a little bit about yourself and a moment when you faced peer pressure and gave in?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about myself. I was born in LA, family mostly from Northeast LA. Moved out here, went to junior high and high school pretty much out here in Santa Clarita. Pretty much like all young people, succumb to some of the peer pressure that Ashley was mentioning, both the positive and the negative, wanting to belong, whether it was playing sports or going down another path. And so peer pressure is actually what led to my incarceration. There was a moment that I was asked to go hang out after trying to pull myself away from the life, was asked to go hang out after about 6 months, and I was saying no, going back and forth. No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I was an expecting dad, so I wasn't really I was working, going to school, wasn't really trying to get caught up in the mix anymore. And then just the constant, hey, it's just tonight, I ended up going. And then once I was there, I was only there for a couple hours, supposed to be back by 9, but we ended up getting arrested and pulled over and didn't come back for over a decade.
So looking back, do you think that there were signs your family or teachers could have picked up on?
Absolutely. And so that's a very loaded question that has a lot of different answers. But as far as signs, I would say I would start with noticing my friend group. So I have 3 friends, Justin, Andy, and Josh, that I grew up with from junior high all the way till even now. We're still best friends, that I'll call my positive peer pressure friends. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how just not too long ago, they had asked, why'd you just stop hanging out with us? And my response was because I didn't want to drag them into what I was doing on this negative peer pressure side. And so those were the signs that my family could have been like, hey, why aren't those friends that used to call me mom or that used to call me this, or why aren't they around anymore? And so those are signs that my family could have picked up on. And then teachers, I think same thing. I think back then it was a different time though than we are now. We weren't really having the conversations that we're having nowadays when I was in junior high and high school. So while I know that there was teachers that believed in me and believed in my potential, I just don't really feel they had the tools to, or didn't want to disrupt the status quo.
So you think that people could, or your parents in particular, could have noticed that you weren't hanging out with your original friends, mm-hmm. and that could have been a good sign?
Yeah.
Or a big sign? So Ashley, from your experience, what are some warning signs that a child might be struggling with negative peer pressure, or signs that parents can look out for?
I think first and foremost, a change in behavior. For that kid who used to be outgoing and now they're not as outgoing, that would be one of the biggest things. They prefer to be isolated. As Ramses said, changing a new group of friends all of a sudden. Defiant behaviors, being secrecy. They don't want you looking at their phone or their iPads or things like that. And also a disinterest in used to be preferred activities. So you used to like to play sports and now you don't want to do that anymore. What's going on? I think that those would be, and also a change in academics too. So if your grades are going down, and risky behaviors, smoking, drinking, all of those things.
Yeah. you almost feel like it's in your face regularly, but hearing this is a good reminder. I'm a parent of 2 kids, and these are things, my kids are young, but these are things that you have to think about nowadays.
All the time.
So what skills can parents help their kids develop so that they can confidently say no and still feel like they belong?
One of the things I work on with my students is like positive decision-making skills. So playing out the consequences for them. I always teach them the if-then statement. So if I do this, then what could happen? And letting them know that there's multiple consequences to certain choices. Role-playing, like, hey, what would you do if your friend said this to you? And actively getting them to ask them no. Like, no, what would you say? Like, what would you actively say? And then the other thing is teaching them assertive comments. Like, no, I'm good. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. Just teaching them quick, things that they can say in the moment where there's not a lot of discussion that's needed so they don't get trapped. Because a lot of times kids sometimes feel trapped, like, I don't know what to say. But if you teach them those quick things, it can be helpful.
Well, and I also think the role playing, that's a great idea to do at home, at the dinner table, or when you're hanging out with your kids. Just role play a little bit to give them that confidence. So, Ramses, was there a turning point when you started resisting peer pressure more successfully, and who or what helped you through those decisions?
Yeah, so absolutely. So the turning point actually started before incarceration. So again, just to be repetitive because it is important, as a teen dad, like I started getting my priorities in order. I had a job, even though I wasn't in traditional school anymore and I was an independent study, which gave me more flexibility to go work. I knew that I didn't want to leave my daughter behind. And I didn't want her to have some of the same things that go through the same things that I went through. So that was pretty much the motivation at that time. That was my turning point, which why I was reluctant to go hang out that day. Then while I was there, when I did get arrested, while I was in juvenile hall, which was in the compound in Sylmar, fighting my case because I was charged as an adult with 4 other adults, I then started seeking out mentorship. So there's one in particular, Scott Budnick. He was one that poured a lot into me. There was other mentors. One, her name was Sherry, and she was with Inside Out Riders. She also poured a lot into me. And then there's another, believe it or not, probation officer. He was a senior probation officer over at the halls, and his name is Mr. Jacobs. He poured a lot into me. So having those 3 during that like critical moment of my life where I just was like ready to give up, and not give up in the sense of like suicidal ideation, but in the sense of like, hey, I'm already here. This is already happening. So why not just go full force? They helped me reel myself back in. But unfortunately, when I got to prison in YA, which is the youth authority that no longer exists, but what was back then, there was peer pressure again, because obviously I'm in a whole new environment and I got to adapt. So I was engaged in everything for a long time. And finally, I was having a conversation with my daughter's mom, and I believe my daughter had asked, like, when's my dad going to be here? Like, why isn't he here to put me to sleep? And there was a conversation that her teacher had asked my daughter, like, why does your dad not pick you up? And when her mom told me that, I was like, yeah, that's not okay. So I decided to get my affairs in order, I've always valued education. So even though I was getting in trouble, I was dually enrolled at LA Mission too while I was in high school. So I just got back on track, earned my degrees, and I just told myself, like, you've already lost so much, like, enough is enough. Just get back on it. And thankfully I did, and I came home early.
So what I hear your daughter was your support is your support. It also sounded like confidence was really helpful for you. Do you think that's something that parents should build in their kids? Do you think it's something that parents should instill? Because that seemed to really help you through that. Yeah,
absolutely. Instilling confidence in your kids is paramount to a lot of their success. Every day, it could be even just this year. She's a senior in high school now. Does all AP. She's also dually enrolled at LA Mission. And so during registration, there was a couple things that were frustrating her. I was like, it's all right. Like, we got this. Don't worry. We're going to get it done. We'll figure it out. And so always instilling confidence in your kids is like paramount to their success, I think.
Yeah.
Part of that, I mean, I want to say I had natural confidence. Maybe it was sometimes arrogance. But my mom was my mom had got incarcerated when I was young, and she also suffered from addiction. My dad wasn't really in my life. He was, like, we had a kind of odd relationship, have a pretty good relationship now, and thankful for that. But growing up, it was more so my grandma, who is an immigrant from Ecuador, didn't really speak much English. I had my aunt as well that played a big role, but again, they weren't my parents. So there was still I'm not being raised by my parents that kind of like shifted my perspective and what confidence really looked like and having someone instill it in you, because it wasn't my parents doing it.
Yes.
It was people other than my parents.
Yes. That is, I agree. I feel like confidence is really important to build that success to say no to peer pressure. Ashley, what's the best way for parents to open up conversations about peer pressure early on to prevent it from happening?
Be open, be non-judgmental, be conversational, not preachy. I would say a couple things is pick the right moment. Maybe not right before bed, but maybe during a walk, when you're driving in the car. I always say lead with curiosity. So like ask those open-ended questions. And sometimes with kids, if you take them out of it and you put others, it's easier for them to answer the question. So for example, what kind of pressure do your friends face, right? It's easier for them to answer that versus what kind of pressure do you face? Another example is what kinds of things do you see other kids trying to do to fit in? That can usually be pretty helpful. And also listen without interruption. Let them just talk. Ask them a question, wait for them to answer. I think that's huge too.
That as a parent, that was near and dear. Those are conversations I'm going to be having with my kids for sure. And then to both of you guys, so how does the way parents model their own decision-making at home affect how kids handle peer pressure in their own lives? Ashley, let's start with you, and then Ramses, we'll go to you.
Just know your kids are always watching. They watch how you react versus how you respond. So, make decisions with confidence. Show that it's okay to ask questions. You don't have to have all the answers if you don't know, but when you make your decision, stick to it. And also, if maybe that decision didn't work out so well, accept responsibility. How do you handle consequences as an adult? Those are the things that we want to model to our kids. So,
yeah. And Ramses, what about for you?
I mean, I'm going to second that, but also add that they, again, just really emphasize on they are always watching, even from babies. Like now I'm a dad all over again. My youngest daughter, Camila, she's 2, and there's times where she may be starting to do something, and I'm like, where did you learn how to do that? And somewhere down the line, she either seen her mom or I do it. And so kids are always watching. One of the joys I have with my oldest daughter is the fact that she's able to talk to me about relationships, and not just friendships with other girls, but boys. And typically girls don't do that with their fathers. And I think part of that is because she has seen, like, I am not quick to just hound her on what is not acceptable and really just ask those open-ended questions, and just give her the space and the floor to talk. And then she's also seen how I handle either just my interactions with her mother, interactions with my youngest daughter's mom, with my fiance now. So I believe all of that plays a big role.
So they're always watching.
Always.
So just keep remembering that for sure. Ashley, to you, and what if peer pressure has already happened? What if it's already made an impact on the child? What do you do then? How do you kind of go back and correct?
First and foremost, be supportive and understanding. In the first few moments, that's the most vital thing you can probably do as a parent. Oftentimes, kids don't come to us as adults because they're afraid of being corrected, right? Which there's time for that, right? But right now, they're either in crisis or they're scared, or they just don't know what to do. So just always know, stay calm, listen. And just validate their feelings. Like, wow, that must have been really hard for you when your friend asked you to smoke. What can we do next time?
And almost like no judgment against them. Like
yeah.
making sure they know that it's okay if you make a mistake, that you're there to open up that communication. And Ramses, so what message do you want parents to take away about kids who do make mistakes and give in to peer pressure?
That it is very easy to want to just throw in the towel sometimes, or to turn the blind eye and say, no, not my kid. But to really hone in on what may have led to these decisions that are being made, and also just give grace. Give grace. Don't give up on your kids, because one mistake doesn't define you, and just remember that you were a kid too. And so all of us have, I feel, as parents, and I don't want to just throw a blanket over everybody's parenting, but we all tend to sometimes hyper-vigilize and turn a mountain out of a molehill. And I think that's kind of what makes kids withdraw. So I think just keep that in mind.
Important information. So thank you, Ashley and Ramses. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your time and the important information you're sharing with the community. Community members, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Defy and SCV. Thank you very much and have a great day.